You're listening to the Unsung Podcast, where we talk about albums that we think are unsung classics, and then you guys tell us if we're right or wrong. This is the Unsung Podcast. Hey guys.
I think that someone is trying to kill me.
It's not the album we're doing, but
I know. I mean, it's actually.
Jurassic Park.
How's it going, guys? I'm in Atlanta just now.
Oh, you are actually in Atlanta right now.
What you eating? What you eating?
Southern food.
Po' boys.
Po' boys.
Po' boys.
Catfish.
What else could you have?
Grits.
Do good lobster.
Yeah, grits are good. Although Atlanta's a bit far from the sea for lobster, I'd wait until you get to New Orleans for that.
They've got a good lobster restaurant there called The Optimist.
Okay. That is, yeah.
That's probably where I'm sitting right now.
Yeah. Well, you are being optimistic eating lobster so far from the sea, maybe.
Are you outside the courthouse lobbying them to reform their abortion legislation?
I'm too white for that, sorry.
To mail?
Yeah. Oops. Sorry.
So I hope you're enjoying your holiday that you're on right now. This is recorded a week ago.
Me and David are in Scotland at the moment. We're had 3 days of sun last week. It's back to torrential.
Yeah, I know. I mean, we just know it is going to be wet next week. So
safe bet.
We should, while he's away, we should go for a little trip on my inflatable kayak.
I was going to say, yeah, you said you dropped that you got the kayak.
Yeah.
What do you think you'll have used it for by this point?
I don't know. It's currently used as a sort of stacking material in my bedroom. It's hiding a multitude of unwashed laundry. So maybe it'll maintain that integral structural piece.
I think you'll have journeyed deep into the Scottish Highlands into areas accessible only by water in pursuit of a fabled ancient treasure buried by a Viking.
This sounds like a Mastodon album.
That's what I'm getting at.
We could go out on Loch Ness. There's they sing about
Old Nessie.
Yeah.
Old Nessie.
Ole Nessie.
Ole Nessie.
Yeah, this
Nessie
is
Spanish.
Have we said what this is?
Yeah.
This is the Unsung Podcast. Mark, you haven't done that for a while.
Sorry, I'm too busy probably getting washed away in a hurricane because I'm going to the deep south of hurricane season, which is a great idea.
It's one of my all-time goals, and me and my pal
to get washed away in a hurricane.
No, me and my pal Ben have said that we will do this. We will go tornado hunting.
Chasing?
Yeah, tornado chasing. We drove through Texas one time, but it was the wrong time of year. We just so happened that we had to get from one place to the other. But one day I'll drive through Oklahoma, specifically looking out for a deathly
Twisters.
wind. Yeah, exactly. I mean, they're just exciting.
Preferably one with sharks in it.
That would be ideal.
Something like that. Something spicy.
Something spicy.
Actually, did you see the photo from last week? There's an alligator cutting about in Texas just now with a giant knife sticking out his head.
It's just raging all the time.
So badass.
Wow.
I wonder it's like Excalibur if you pull it out. Like,
I think that's probably going to be the concept for the next Mastodon album.
Yeah.
These are all Macedonian type things, aren't
Knife
they?
gator. That sounds like a Mastodon track.
That really does.
Yeah. So how are you today, Mark? Like actually today, not
like
in 2 weeks when you're on holiday.
Oh, okay, I've been sitting on this chair now for like an hour and a half.
Yeah, I've got a numb arse.
So yeah, I'm fine. How are you, David?
Yeah, I'm good. I wish I was outside. It's so sunny.
Me too.
But we're nearly there. Christopher, how are you getting on?
I'm pretty good. I'm anticipating sushi. I'm gonna go and grab some after we're done here. I haven't had it in a while, and I'm pretty into it. It's good.
I'm gonna make a big spaghetti bolognese tonight. Actually, I think
I'm going to make fajitas with a J.
Spaghetti bolognese.
How many complaints did we get from Flavor Flav's legal representation?
I know.
Who knows?
Willfully mispronouncing his name and mentioning that he slapped his bird around.
I mean, that's just a matter of public record. I'll have you find, Christopher.
That is Flavor Flav?
Yes.
It is now. Hopefully we kind of muddy the waters enough that people do get a little confused and start seeing things like, some people pronounce it Flav. People are saying.
Even at the reference on Wikipedia, citation.
Are you guys going to any gigs this week?
Yes, I'm going to go to one this week.
I'm trying to think what week
What
this
one are you
is.
going to go to?
I'm going to go probably the same one you're going to.
Are you coming to Cult Leader?
I'm going to go to see Cult Leader.
Oh, excellent. Okay.
You're in,
And Birds in
you're
a Row.
in Georgia.
Okay, the week that I'm actually here.
Last week we will go and see.
Tremendously confused. Wait a minute. So am I going to see this gig in the week that people are now in, or am I going to see it in
you'll
the
have
week
seen
that
it. You'll
we're
have seen
now
it.
in?
Yeah, this gig has been seen already.
Yeah, we've gone to
As
see
of
this
listening.
gig, so hopefully it was good.
I am in a quantum position of 2 weeks at the moment.
Yeah.
So okay, what am I going to go and see this next week?
Yeah.
Today,
Last week. This and that next week.
in the present future. That led nowhere.
You could go see Mac DeMarco on Wednesday.
I fucking hate Mac DeMarco. He is a fucking baggy shite.
What does that even mean? I like it, but what does it mean?
A baggy
I
shite.
don't know. He's just a fucking wet paper bag full of fucking bad ideas.
Like you said bag, like you said bag a shite, not bag. I thought you said baggy shite. Like
No, I did say baggy shite.
Yeah.
like baggy, like
Baggy
as
and
white.
loose and flappy, yeah.
I thought you
He's
said
just the
bag
way
a shite.
his fucking way he dresses kills me as well. So fucking try hard. I can't stand him. He's terrible. His music's fucking terrible. Why is
Why?
Mac DeMarco?
Yeah, I don't quite get it.
But
I'm looking forward to Romeo Taylor
Yeah,
supporting
I
though.
was gonna
That's
say
gonna
that. No, that'll be good.
That'll be
Yeah, he's
100%
dynamite.
worth it.
He's fucking brilliant. You put him on specially for us at that party.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, it was a
And now he's
treat.
playing he's supporting a sold out Mac DeMarco show. Can't wait.
I'd actually really feel quite bad for Mac having to try and
I know, how do you follow that?
Wait, he's fucking
The Kingdom of
peely wally
Scotland.
shite that he does, like try to follow Romeo, have the place jumping.
espionage.
Bessie. So what are we doing this week, guys?
Well, we already mentioned we're doing a metal thing that talks about alligators and knives and Vikings and
horses,
journeying
big
into
giant
mountains
horses,
and
the Elephant Man.
a lot. A lot.
Well, they just do Elephant Man,
Closing
big long track for the
Yeah.
first 3 records.
Yeah.
Why the hell not?
We were talking about probably like the whitest band you could like.
Wait, whoa!
No, I mean they are, but they're not like.
I wouldn't say white as in like, not in a bad way. Like, I think Nickelback are whiter than Mastodon.
Yeah,
I suppose.
I would agree with that. I think Creed are the whitest.
Yeah. I think Bell and
Mac
Sebastian
DeMarco?
I think Bell and
Mac
Sebastian.
DeMarco's really white, man.
Bell and Sebastian are very white as well. Would you say?
Jesus.
There's a whole fucking universe of black metal bands that are whiter than this band.
Well, yeah, exactly.
But compared to last
Mastodon-
week,
Well, yeah, that's true. But Mastodon are a sweaty, hairy band.
Bell and
Very
Sebastian
hairy.
sound like a faint coughing or a coughing. It's just like it's a noise born of something that shouldn't have bothered. This is very different.
it's very different.
They truly bothered, and it was worth it.
Yeah, they have some.
This is the first record by
Noises.
Mastodon, I believe.
Yeah, so they had an EP out before this, which then got re-released with a few more tracks. And that got re-released after Leviathan.
Mhm.
It was called Call of the Mastodon. But it's not really a sort of studio album. It's not really a full, record.
Yeah, they consider it so. They consider it their first
Yeah,
record.
they kind of call it canon, but I mean, it's not really. To everybody that was there at the time, this is Mastodon's debut album, Remission. Came out in 2002.
On Relapse. They got
Yeah.
snapped up pretty early in their career.
And I mean, they've gone on to record something like 7 albums, I think. And
were they on the what was that series of Relapse?
Contaminated 3.
That's where I heard them. Is it Marching
First
with
time
Fire Ants?
No, it was Where Strides the Behemoth, I think.
Was it that one?
They might have been on 3 and 4.
They were
I
on
can't
6,
remember.
definitely.
But yeah, Contaminated was this Relapse sampler CD that got me into a fuckload of really aggressive shit, like everything from agoraphobic nosebleed to neurosis to Today's the Day.
Nausum.
Yeah, a lot of like really interesting stuff. And yeah, Where Strides the Behemoth was the first track I ever heard by Mastodon, and I was just like,
you were in.
What the fucking hell is this?
You know, one thing that doesn't get mentioned enough about them, and is a really likeable novelty, I guess, now, is that it's basically the same 4 guys.
Yep.
They had a different vocalist at one point briefly, but
it's really rare that you see a band go for 20 years and never change any members.
Yeah, crazy that, right? It's nice. It's encouraging.
Yeah. Even, you know, because I kind of always see them up as, like, I know this meme that people talk about, but like God tier. And I see Mastodon as like a sort of god tier metal stroke hardcore band, along with like Converge, Dillinger Escape Plan, Meshuggah. And what's interesting is, well, I don't know if it's interesting, but Converge basically maintain the same lineup, you know, since Jane Doe.
Yeah, since Jane Doe, yeah.
Meshuggah maintain the same lineup. Mastodon maintain the same lineup. Dillinger have a few more changes, but you know, having that sort of,
I would say Dillinger are the weakest of those 4 that you mentioned.
Yeah, in terms of longevity, yeah, definitely.
And consistency. Yeah, but
you're wrong. It's
really interesting that you're right. Like the consistency of lineup does seem to have such a. It can't be an accidental correlation.
Yeah, you grow together artistically.
Yeah.
Yes, they certainly did that.
So they met at a High and Fire show, which is a band they definitely rip off a lot.
They rip off, but to me, I think they improve.
I think High and Fire are better.
No, I like Mastodon better. I think they're just more straight to the point, heavier. I do like High and Fire, but
they're cleaner. They're more easily. I'm not shitting on Mastodon, but they're more easily digestible than High and Fire. High and Fire have got rougher edges, but they're the real deal.
I just find the simple brutality of Mastodon maybe my favourite thing about them.
But yeah, that hasn't lasted.
Yeah, no, certainly they are a band that has not been afraid to try new things, and they've sort of got bigger and bigger.
I think that's a polite way to put it.
Yeah, but you know, they've got bigger and bigger, sold more records as they've gone, but they've also, you know, introduced clean vocals. They've gone through really proggy times and then come back. You know, I stopped listening to them after Crack the Sky. I kind of lost interest in. It's decent. There's some good tracks on it, but I find it just a bit plodding and a little bit boring, actually.
I went for a nap yesterday, listening to They Crack the Sky, and when I woke up it was in the same song.
Yeah, exactly.
An hour later.
Yeah, I know.
It was just on repeat.
That was maybe when they sort of dived slightly into their own buttocks for a little while and listened to their own hype. But
nice way to put it. That was actually, for this I went through a lot of the kind of ranked lists on different sites, and specifically one of them, Progosphere, which is like Progsphere, where they deal with more proggy metal, and it's interesting that Crack the Sky is their number 1 Mastodon album, and that reflects though the fact that the band moved away from sludge rock and into this completely different sort of like realm to a much greater extent. We'll come back to that, but in terms of like you were talking about some labels that are mentioned certainly earlier on, sludge metal, alternative metal, and a wee bit of stoner rock, and then they kind of got more towards experimental metal, prog metal when they did it, like Leviathan is a big concept record, and that's usually a big signpost of a prog band or prog sensibilities. Some elements of groove metal, and I think the southern thing kind of lends itself to that, being from Georgia, and psychedelic metal at points. Later on, more so probably. Yeah, they've definitely evolved their sound. I think their sound has... I don't think the results are as good now. I don't think anybody that's a fan of the band would argue that the results are as consistently good as they were between Remission, Leviathan and Blood Mountain kind of era.
Yep.
But there are still some really good highlights. We'll go through the albums maybe in a little bit. But in terms of the band members, was it Bill Keller?
Keller,
I think it is.
Bill Keller.
I guess Kelly.
You just have to go Bill Keller.
And Brett Hines, and Bran Daler, who is the super hyperactive drummer. They were members briefly of a band called Today's the Day.
Really good band.
Yeah, I'm a fan of Today's the Day, but they are fucking wild.
And they do not have the same band members throughout.
Well, today's the day when you look at, you know how Wikipedia does that little colour chart line thing. It is just ridiculous. It looks like a lie detector test or something like that for Today's the Day. They only did one record with them, and it's called In the Eyes of God, but it's one of their best albums.
It's actually a really good
It's their fifth album, 1999, and yeah, that's a great record. And you can hear Bran Daler's style really coming through, especially. But then they left. That was in New York. They were working on that, and they left and moved down to Georgia, and then hooked up with these with Brett Hines and Troy Sanders. I noticed we got a message in this week, which was criticising. Well, it was a suggestion.
It's from our good friend and funder Craig.
Yeah, from
makes a mean
in
donut.
Australia. He does, but he was suggesting a concept for a split 7-inch, which was bands that are great, but you're put off by the front person or singer.
The vocalist,
and Mastodon are one for him. He hates the vocal styles. And the thing is that the vocal styles have changed a lot. I mean, the stuff early on is pure neurosis. And indeed Scott Kelly appears in a lot of stuff. A lot
Remission
of
is the only record that he's not on.
Yeah, it's very much that kind of style. There's also a few where they touch on maybe the kind of big business Melvin style a wee bit.
I guess he was adopted or raised by wolves. That's ridiculous to say. I heard he pulled over 'cause town had touched so nothing grew. I heard that too.
But then they increasingly sound like Ozzy Osbourne.
Yeah, there's a lot of because I think all four of them share vocal duties, and
at
the beginning in Remission,
vocals.
Sorry,
Bill only does backing vocals.
Yeah. But I mean, all four of them are fully mic'd up.
Yeah, Bran does vocals on the song The Mother Lode on Once More Around the Sun.
I can see what the world has done to you. I can feel the way, I can see.
Which is not great.
No.
But I'm trying to be so constructive with that. We'll talk about that later.
He starts singing on The Hunter, right? That when he starts singing?
Yeah. That's when it's.
But, I mean, that was the Motherlode was a single though, so you had the video with the drummer singing on it, and the way he plays drums as well. My God, the cardio.
Yeah, no idea how he's that done.
Yeah, it's pretty staggering.
I mean, it was interesting to see some of the musical touchstones that came out in relation to this band, because I've listened to Mastodon and I've never tried to really pick them apart and try and sort of find some of the heritage in it. Obvious ones were Neurosis, Melvins. I hadn't actually clocked riff-wise, especially earlier on, how close they are to Melvins, but there is a lot musically in common. It was surprising, but I guess it makes sense in hindsight to find out how big a fan they were of Thin Lizzy and Iron Maiden.
Yeah, I mean, not so much on Remission, although there are definitely glimpses of moving up the fretboard a little bit and having those harmonising.
Yeah.
But definitely on Leviathan and further into discography, you can hear that sort of dual guitar, Maiden, Thin Lizzy sound.
Obviously, there's a huge Led Zeppelin influence as well. Like a lot of their stuff sounds like Led Zeppelin playing metal, I think.
Yeah, what's interesting is like I think Mastodon have a defining sound like sonically, and a lot of that actually comes from the cleaner guitar sound that they have. I don't know what pedals they use, but there's like a slight sort of warmth to it, and it's there's obviously like a sort of southern influence that's got a little bit of overdrive on it. They've got a couple more effects on there, but that you can hear that in that sort of Led Zeppelin Volume 4 era sort of coming through. But then also, obviously
there's a couple of nods as well in some of the retrospectives to the kind of metal side of grunge, and some of the stuff they do later on sounds a lot like Alice in Chains.
Yeah.
Do it again. Yeah. Hey.
Like, I think Alice in Chains, people kind of lump them in with grunge, and we kind of mentioned it in the grunge mixtape, but really when you sonically pay attention to Alice in Chains, they're very much a metal band.
They actually toured with Alice in Chains and Deftones in 2011, 2012.
So interesting thing you mentioned guitar tones, because me being the geek that I am, I actually went and looked at their rigs, and Bill Kelly actually uses, what's the guitar player in Alice in Chains' name? Really famous one.
Jerry Cantrell.
He actually uses his signature Friedman amps.
Okay.
And he uses a big Axe effects board. But Brent, who's like ostensibly like the main songwriter or does a lot of the main ideas for the band, like his rig is like so stripped back. He only uses like 5 pedals. 2 of which, one's a wah pedal and one's a volume pedal.
Interesting.
He quite often uses a 12-string guitar though, which is interesting.
Even just outside the tones though, like the track Oblivion on Crack the Sky, the chorus to that song sounds like Lane Staley. It really sounds like an Alice in Chains chorus. That I was quite struck by that. Like I said, I think there's a big Ozzy element later on as well. The kind of Ozzy Osbourne sort of like 80s and 90s era output, especially as regards like the vocal choices in it, where it's less gruff, it's less barky.
There's a lot of Sabbath riffs on the first couple of records as well, man. Like
some of the more metallic bits as well, like in their career, really nod towards the kind of God Hates Us All era of Slayer.
Yeah.
Like big, when they do get more bite and when they do get more metal, that's the metal that seems to push through more than anything else. But I was like talking to a friend as well, Rick, who's really into his metal, like an encyclopedia of it, and he pointed me in the direction of some stuff that's very, very relevant. He brought up a band called Atheist. They've got an album called Unquestionable Presence for 1991, which is really gallopy and proggy, loads of touches of thrash and very frantic drumming. My God, he's right on the money with that. Like, if you listen to the album, it's a good album actually. I'd never heard it before, but it's a really good record. And they're from Florida, right? Also, another good comparison was the band Cynic and an album called Focus for 93.
Yeah, that's like a classic sort of proggy technical death metal thing.
Exactly. His vocoder in it and stuff as well, which is mental. Also from Florida, and then he pointed me towards the kind of later era death as well, you know, Chuck Schuldiner band, and the kind of albums like Human for 1991 and stuff like that. Again, Florida. And so it's really, and Georgia's right next door to Florida, and you can just see there is a definite influence coming from the death metal scene down there in the late 80s especially, that pushes through in this. Yeah,
it's interesting seeing that this is definitely a southern metal record, and this was like the first of those bands that then came through. There was also other bands like Torch, Baroness were another one, Kylesa. And I mean, we've obviously talked about Baroness, and I feel like Baroness are, I don't know, I do like Baroness, but I feel like they're a band that will always be in Mastodon's shadow.
Yes, I think that's a fair comment.
I think Baroness are a better band.
Yeah, well,
I would say High on Fire, then Mastodon, then Baroness.
Yeah,
that's
I would go Mastodon and then all
everybody
other music.
But yeah, so there's a lot of different influences. By the way, the Melvins thing as well on Leviathan. At the end of it, they do a cover of The Bit. Melvin's tune. It's a really, really good cover. It's pretty close in terms of covers. It's not like they make a massively original stab at it, but they make a very respectful stab at it, and it's actually a cool version.
They did a very respectful stab of Stairway to Heaven last year.
Don't fucking respectfully stab you,
but that was because their longtime manager, I think, died, and so this was like released as a tribute to him because it was his favourite track of all time.
It's great.
And I mean, it's like, if you're going to cover Stairway to Heaven, you might as well get Mastodon to do it, because they can fucking pull it off.
It doesn't have the high though, which
I know. It just doesn't quite get there. I mean, that's the thing, I suppose. I mean, Mastodon have maybe been trying to become, or you know, maybe they're just good enough to be a classic fucking rock band now, up there in the echelons of, you know, proper rock. But I don't
think they're there yet. Yeah.
No, that's it. I don't think they're there yet, and I think what they maybe lack, and I can see where Craig's maybe coming from this, is they don't have like a world-class vocalist. They certainly don't have a world-class clean vocalist that will get them mainstream success, that even like James Hetfield or Robert Plant or somebody like that.
That's why Brand's taking a role in some of those more melodic parts.
He does have the best singing voice in the band, I think.
Yeah. Is it not Brett Hines that was on the record saying he fucking hates metal anyway?
I mean, they don't even see themselves as a metal band now. They've always said that they're a rock band that take in influences from all over the place, and I think even to begin with, there's no fucking doubt that Remission is a metal album. But it's also it's quite punky. There's a lot of fucking jazz influence that you know, from particularly from Bran.
The weirdness of it gives it like a credibility that I think some of their later stuff gets a bit stodgy, because it becomes quite conformistly metal. But by that point, you know, they've earned people's respect, so people go along with them. But one of the things I do like about Remission that I don't like about the later stuff is that it's, by its naivety, very original in places. And I think that's,
you'd just be like, no, you can't do that. Whereas they just fucking do it because
they haven't got the memo.
They've just done an absolute sludge riff, and then a sort of Meshuggah time signature, and then just done a little jazz breakdown, and then they just exactly.
So we'll skate through the albums, but again, just to touch on looking at some of those ranking sites, people do seem to agree that Leviathan is their best album. It's a really fucking great record.
I mean, I think Leviathan to me is like a perfect metal album.
You think so?
It's just so fucking good.
I think it's so overrated.
I don't think it's perfect, but I don't think it's overrated. It's a very, very good record.
I think it's a good record, but I think it's overrated, man. I don't think it's as good as, it's definitely not as good as Remission, but we'll talk about that.
Well, okay, but the point is that most of the lists seem to quite comfortably put Leviathan at the top, but what they can't, other than that prog one, but what they can't really seem to agree on is the rest of it, because I noticed that like for like Kerrang put The Hunter second, whereas Rate Your Music put it sixth, and that's out of 7, you know. And I think that's quite interesting because the rest of their catalogue sees people sort of really divided. Most people get behind Leviathan pretty comfortably, but then they sort of start to go in other directions. There was one where Remission was 7th out of 7.
I think I wouldn't put it 7 out of 7, definitely not. Like I definitely wouldn't put it down that low. But the next record, Blood Mountain, I think is better than Leviathan.
Well, I think the consensus seemed to be that Blood Mountain was more consistent, but didn't have any of didn't have the highs of Leviathan.
I don't know. I mean, to me, I think Mastodon are a band where I only ever listened to these first 3 records. I never listened to anything else, but I think these first 3 records are 3 of my favourite metal albums and maybe 3 of my just favourite albums of all time.
So can we just say that like Leviathan came out in 2004 and so Remission, the one we're doing, was the first album. Leviathan's the second album, which is a stunning album. It's like the opening track, Blood and Thunder, it's got to be one of the best openings of any
one
album.
of the best riffs of all time.
Yeah, definitely.
And that was a hell of a way for they'd kind of got people interested with Remission, so they had to deliver on that second one, and fucking hell. But
it's so tight, it's so clean, but it's still got this sludginess to it.
Yeah, it's a bit proggier though. It does, like,
definitely proggier and
more refined.
But they still, it's something that they did on Remission. They somehow make you feel like you're on a boat. Like there's something, not just Bran the drummer, it's like a lot to do with like the feel of the entire band playing together and the guitars
as well. Like they've got a good, strong aesthetic.
Fantastic aesthetic. You know, like you look back and they've got that sort of Iron Maiden, Metallica type, really strong, consistent vibe.
You know, part of that's a guy called Paul Romano who did their art all the way up until 2011 when things started to kind of deteriorate anyway. But that they had a really nice consistency of theme. They kind of, even though Leviathan was a concept record, they had this sort of sense of all their albums had a sort of elemental quality to them. You know,
exactly.
Earth, Wind, Fire. Not the band. You know what I mean? And that album, Leviathan's got so many standout tracks.
And that was a concept album about, you know, Moby Dick, and it was based on water and Moby Dick, but you can hear it. You can actually hear it,
but with an Elephant Man track at the end.
That's because they have to do their Elephant Man track.
But I Am Ahab, Sea Beast, Iron Tusk. A lot of really, really striking Mastodon tunes, metal tunes generally.
I think is it Sea Beast that's got like the breakdown in the middle that just like double speed, and it's just one of the best metal moments of all time. I fucking love that record so much.
So they followed that with Blood Mountain in 2006. They were kind of working at a rate of like an album every 2 years at the moment. Again, really consistent. I don't think it has the highs. It doesn't have a Blood and Thunder. It doesn't have an I Am
Although,
Ahab.
I mean, The Wolf is Loose and Crystal Skull are both really
big tunes,
heavy tunes.
I
And
think
to me,
Caprelli and Crest is also really good.
yeah, and also Blade Catcher for me are like where they go off the other scale of like prog, but it's like so mad.
Yeah, but they're not genre defining songs.
I know, but they're fucking brilliant.
They're good, but I don't think they're like quite as standout. They're not standalone anyway. Also,
I really
that
love
fucking
this
album. That fucking album's got Josh Homme in it.
Yeah, no, I know.
Off, Josh Homme.
The Dave Grohl Nexus is way too close on this one.
Cedric from At the Drive-In as well.
Yeah, his vocal in that song is super weird, man. Like, he's basically just howling.
Yeah,
it's great.
Really fucking weird.
think Blood Mountain is a really, really, really great record.
Oh, I mean, I think everyone agrees that it is really good. It's where it stands. They followed it with Crack the Sky.
Can I just say, I saw, I think it was the second time I saw Mastodon, they were supporting Tool at the SEC, so this must have been like 2005 maybe, last time Tool played, and Mastodon opened up with This Mortal Soil and then Blade Catcher like joined together as a medley, so they just started with like a 10-minute instrumental medley of chaos and I was like, oh, this is exactly what I want to see right now. And a lot of these like boring Tool guys were just like, what the fuck is this?
My girlfriend saw them on the Leviathan tour in the Cat House.
Yeah,
she said they were unbelievable.
Yeah,
she's a huge fan. She's a huge fan. She saw them in the bars recently as well.
I saw them.
Very good.
I've seen them like 5 times or something. I saw them in the garage just after Leviathan, and it was fucking amazing. And then at APC as well. But I've seen them.
Yeah,
I saw them at the Barlands when Dillinger Escape Plan supported, and I watched Dillinger, and then me and my cousin Ian walked out halfway through Mastodon. Not because it wasn't great, it was fine, but I was just a bit bored.
Yeah, I watched them at the ABC. I think it was the second time, and I thought it was quite poor.
Yeah, but like imagine being in a sweaty hole for Remission era.
Totally. So Crack the Sky 2009. Much proggier, the one that Progsphere put at number 1. Some folk mentioned it kind of goes into art metal at points, whatever that is.
Zwan.
Yeah, Zwan. It's a sketchy one, isn't it? Brings in a lot of King Crimson on that record. It's the first time that they
and
really sort of betray that. Floyd
as well.
Pink Floyd, yeah. They shifted over as well for this record to Brendan O'Brien, the guy that produced Bruce Springsteen and Pearl Jam. And I think that kind of denotes a bit of a sort of shift in ambition.
That's Metallica. He's done a lot of Metallica as well, man. I think they were thinking Metallica.
Well, I don't think they went over because it was the boss, but you know, yeah. But I mean, in terms of ambition, moving over to a producer like that, it's like we want to go up to arenas. I get the impression that was sort of the objective there.
Well, it's a major label debut. This one is on Reprise, so you know.
But it's interesting that they did that with this record. Yeah, the production is clear, and you know they're expanding their ideas, but also
content-wise,
they're so far from having a single on this. It's like unreal. They're never, I can see them trying to ape Metallica in like becoming a sort of seminal band, or Iron Maiden, but Iron Maiden and Metallica had fucking singles.
You can imagine, can imagine that the record label were a wee bit miffed at that, because they probably thought this is the time to strike. Because coming off the back of Blood Mountain, you're like, they are going to become the big metal band, and then instead of delivering another Blood Mountain or another Leviathan, they've kind of done. And I think it's probably,
and it's not that they're bad at the big long sprawling tracks, because in the first 3 records some of the best songs are those like 8-minute slow builders. No, but
I suspect it's not what their label particularly hoped they were going to get.
Can I just say I was wrong? It was actually Blood Mountain that was our major label debut.
Okay.
And it actually comes back to I think Prince said this. Warner Bros is a really good label.
Fucking hell, baby.
We need a fucking jingle for this. The Prince
moment.
Just have a bell. Can we have like a fucking little chimes or something?
Yeah, we totally should. Or maybe just time like going, ow, or something like that.
The Prince wedge.
But like he even though he fell at Warner Bros, he said that Warner Bros is a really good record label for bands to be on as they're progressing their career, because they kind of keep bands instead of let them go. And I think that's probably what's happened with these guys as well, because it probably wasn't until The Hunter where they actually had a single, right? With Carl LaBarrel, right? So,
yeah. Also, what the fuck is the deal with the concept behind Crack the Sky? Do you know it? Yeah,
it's kind of weird, man.
A paraplegic boy's mind becomes disembodied and travels into the body of Rasputin.
Yeah, because he learns astral projection, but then there's something to do with
Brandal's sister as well, whose name is Sky.
Wow.
But I mean, fuck it. Like, I love that shit. Like, you can't just sing about
I can see you in your kayak.
Exactly.
I can see your kayak fucking singing Blood and Thunder.
Metal music is supposed to be sort of fantastical and escapist at points. Fuck it.
You're going to be a bear, be a grizzly.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The Hunter in 2011. no concept this time, thankfully, I guess. Much shorter songs as well. Really,
Yeah, I mean, I wonder if the label had said,
I think
hey,
so.
guys, can you write some songs this time?
I think that's probably exactly what happened, because it's still roughly the same length as all their other albums, like 50 minutes long, but it does have...
Yeah, it's got 15 tracks rather than 7. They've got more than twice as many songs on this, but I think it's maybe even slightly shorter than Crack the Sky.
Yeah, I mean, it's one that divides opinion, I noticed, because it did place either very high or very low in a lot of those lists, and some of that was the sort of sense of economy in the length of the songs, but I think there was also maybe a hint of disappointment, because it seemed like they were abandoning their earlier formula, some of the kind of sludgy kind of madness.
Yeah, it's just a rock album.
Yeah, it was kind of gone.
Yeah.
Like things like Black Tongue, which is a cool song, but it's bigger and it kind of plods a bit more. I think folk were a little bit disheartened as to, is this the new direction? 2014, Once More Around the Sun. Pretty unanimously their worst record, right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I even got through this once.
Yeah.
I didn't get through it.
I mean, you know, I'm considering, you know, the first 3 are like some of my favourite records of all time. When The Hunter came out, I was, you know, not particularly sold on it. I don't think I listened to it that much. But then when this came out, I put it on, and then I've never given it a full listen.
Yeah, no, I
don't give a fuck about it. It's just never caught me.
I did listen to it, but the thing was, it was hard to recall the you know, any sort of specific points that massively engaged me. It leans a lot more into the kind of prog thing. It's actually kind of poppy as well. I mean, that Motherload single where the drummer sings is a pop single almost. Like,
yeah, it's weird. It's got like that sort of formula, like that sort of, you know, there's no other songwriters on it. They wrote this song, but it feels like a sort of
like 30 Seconds to Mars.
Yeah,
like
it's weird. And I like, as much as he's one of the best drummers in the world and he's a good vocalist, he's not the lead vocalist I want.
No.
And that's where I probably agree with Craig.
That track High Road on this, which for some people is the worst song they've ever done, really divisive, I noticed. Really vocally is very reminiscent of the band Big Business, who then joined Melvins later on. It's totally come from that angle, and I suspect they're a band that really like Big Business because they obviously really like Melvins. But yeah, I couldn't quite get on board with that. I didn't hate it as much as some people did, but it was getting a lot of abuse on forums and stuff. And Emperor of Sand, 2017, the most recent album. Kind of seen as a bit of a halfway return to form.
Yeah, it's definitely a bit more back to being metally, but it's prog metal. Show Yourself sounds like was the big single, and it sounds like another song by another band. This chorus is reminiscent of, I couldn't put my finger on it, I was listening to it, but it definitely sounds like it was written by somebody else. I thought it was a cover to begin with.
Yeah,
I couldn't say who it was by.
This album's got synths on it. Like,
Yeah.
What the fuck? Like, it's a really odd thing to hear pushing through the mix.
Show Yourself is number 4 on the Billboard charts. That's a proper single.
Yeah, that is. Yeah, that the track Sultan's Curse as well had that kind of. It got the ignominious title of winning a Grammy, which I think is pretty uncool when you're a sort of edgy metal band.
When you're a metal band. Yeah. When you're on Relapsed Records.
Exactly. Yeah.
You don't aim for the Grammy.
So it's kind of
Nazem never got a Grammy.
When you consider what that then does to your fan base that still think of you as being something quite rebellious and out there, and then it's like, alright, you've got a Grammy, you maybe aren't too fucking edgy anymore. So it'll be interesting to see what they do if they try and push back from that, or if they just go with it. They're like, right, we're a Grammy band now, let's just, you know.
Yeah, I am really intrigued to see what their next record is, because like they could pull off something. It feels like they've just slightly lost their direction a little bit for 10 years. But it's like, yeah, what do they do next? Because they're obviously a fucking incredibly talented band and they could pull something out of nowhere, but I don't really have high hopes, which is sad considering they're one of my favourite bands.
Yeah, they become part of the woodwork, right? They become an institution now.
A wee bit.
That's what happens when you get a Grammy.
Certainly,
So.
it doesn't, like, going to see them to me like falls into that category of like going to see any sort of stadium rock band.
Yeah.
So, like,
Whereas you compare it to the other bands like Converge.
Yeah.
I'm always excited about a new Converge record. Meshuggah.
Even
I'm
like,
always excited
even
about
like
a new Meshuggah record.
Melvins have been about for years, but they've never lost their edge, and you
Yeah.
know, I think that's maybe something missing. So maybe the Baroness get the last laugh because they didn't become like that kind of.
Yeah, that's true. Although their newest record, they're trying their fucking hardest to, like, to write proper pop tunes.
I've not heard it yet, but I've heard that.
It keeps coming up on my Spotify discovery playlist. I'm like, no, guys.
I heard 2 singles that they released for it, and I was not overly impressed.
Nah.
So that's why I've not listened to the album. Usually I'd be right in the front row. The artwork's fucking beautiful though.
Yeah,
I would buy that.
Do you know, so another band we haven't talked about, but I think are a touchstone in terms of, I can't remember what the timelines are like, but Gojira
yeah.
are basically the French Mastodon.
Yeah.
Finally rising from the ground awake.
They're mental though. They're legitimately crazy though.
Oh man,
Have they not got a bit more metalcore in them?
yeah, like their newest record has like proper like clean vocals and like big choruses on it.
They'll still pure mathy as fuck. Like,
yeah, like they're that album The Link and then From Mars to Sirius, those 2 records are fucking incredible. And if you like Mastodon, like early Mastodon stuff, you should listen to those first 2 Gojira records.
my girlfriend's a huge fan of Gojira as well.
Oh man, that From Mars to Sirius, I feel like is a perfect companion to Leviathan. It's like Leviathan in space, and in actual fact, I think there's a song called like Whales in Space.
Well, I was going to say, is
like
that not the plot of Star Trek 4?
Well, yeah, exactly. But I mean, like some of the riffs on that record are unbelievably heavy, and like they have whale sound. They have samples. I don't know. Have you heard that record?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
right. Because you're. That's basically a sample right there.
It was me. They phoned me and got me to do it. I dropped it in.
Yeah, good
like
work.
you did from a car park in Kilmarnock.
Hi. Sorry to interrupt your listening pleasure. It's the first sunny Sunday of the entire year, and we're nearly in fucking July. That's what living in Scotland is like. And we are cooked up at 3 p.m. on a sunny summer's afternoon. There's probably only going to be 2 more left this year.
Yeah.
And we are recording a podcast for your listening pleasure. And why do we do this, Chris? I don't know. It's certainly not for the money.
Masochism.
Pure masochism.
Penance. Community service.
We don't make any money out of this, but we do spend money on it. We have web hosting, we have faulty cables, we have microphones.
We have microphones that are broken to.
A headphone amp you have to batter off the table.
Broken to.
Got all of these things to pay for. So if we can at least make no loss as well as no money out of this, then it kind of feels like it might be worth missing out on the sunshine out there. I bought an inflatable kayak from Lidl 2 weeks ago. It's not even out of the box yet. It's only 40 quid, but you know.
And that's just for getting here to do the recording because
Exactly.
the Scottish summers are so wet. Yeah.
But yeah, that's how committed we are. So how committed are you, the listener? Go to unsungpod.net/donate. Thanks, guys.
So Remission, why Remission? I mean, it's got some great moments on it, right? Amazing moments on it.
Yeah, I just think, I mean, Leviathan is seen as their classic record, right? Blood Mountain was the other one I was thinking about, but Blood Mountain came out on a, you know, on a fucking major label.
Major, yeah.
And I saw them touring with Tool and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And it got them to where they are.
It's pretty
Blood
sung.
Mountain
It's
is,
pretty sung. Yeah.
is a, you know, great fucking record, but it's pretty sung. Remission is the one that came out on Relapse. It was their debut album. Nobody knew who the fuck they were, and it didn't just like it laid out everything that they could become. In fact, kind of maybe overpromised things because, well, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's difficult to say. Debatable, but like they laid out their sound so perfectly in this. Like, there's no way this sounds like a debut album.
Mm-hmm.
It's so perfectly tied together, but yet it's so fucking visceral and heavy. Like, it's a band that's just I can't get over how fucking heavy this record is,
Mm-hmm.
but like so loose as well. It's so fast, it's so loose, it's so progressive. You're just like, how can 4 men in a room be making this out of nowhere? I just fucking love this record so much.
Yeah, I mean, I respect how evolved it sounds for a band in the early stages of its career, definitely, because they'd only been together for like just under 2 years at this point.
Yeah.
It's, I mean, is it March of the Fire Ants?
Yeah.
That is a fucking iconic bit of music.
Yeah, I mean, I just think they're so good at like meandering off in a little proggy bits. They're so great at like these little jazz breakdowns. They're so great at like absolute fucking chug fests.
Mm-hmm.
But what they are also incredibly good at is just a memorable riff. A lot of bands are really good, but you know, can never pull that memorable riff out of the hat. But there's so many on this record, and you know, March of the Fire Ants is like a defining riff for them.
Yeah.
You know, for a lot of people, that's like the touchstone that they go to. You know, when they first got
and
in.
Blood and Thunder are the two standout Mastodon riffs for me. There's other great moments, of course, but those are the two.
But yeah, I mean, they're a band that add in little extra notes. There's like things that they do with like time signatures, and like they'll just add in an extra note at the end of a riff. But they don't do it to be fancy, and they don't do it to like confuse you. They just do it to make it heavier.
It lends itself to the music, and March of the Fire Ants is a perfect example.
Yeah.
The shortened bars in that are really, really effective in the guitar. So yeah, I'm a big fan of that. I mean, I have to say though, like as a Scotsman, I fucking hate the track Old Nessie.
Oh, I really like that track.
Mm-hmm.
It is, you know, there was.
I think it comes in a perfect place in the record because
it's right. So as somebody that puts on a lot of shows, and I'm sure you're in the same boat here, right? There was a period between about 2005 and 2010 where everybody started getting into finger tapping, and everybody was doing these kind of progressive metal, sort of somewhere between post rock and math metal sort of things, and they were so boring, man. And that song is such a workout for that period. I just feel it's really dated so badly in a way that the other tracks in the record haven't.
I know what you mean. Like if you take that track out and stand it alone, then maybe it doesn't stand up like the others do. But what it does do is you've had 4 totally monstrous riffathons coming in, and then Old Nessie just breaks it down and says, right, fuck it, we're a band that will go on a watery journey through the murky Loch Ness and blah blah. Yeah,
you're biased. It's up near where you live. But I mean, fucking it, Old Nessie as well, man. You can imagine an old guy in a jumper somewhere in a fucking wee button bend singing that next to someone playing a fiddle.
Fuck it. I mean,
Old Nessie, she stayed hidden till now.
I mean, I don't think Mastodon are ever that far away from just fully growing their beards out, sitting around a campfire and drinking whiskey until, you know, until the night never ends.
Well, yeah, apparently Brett Hines learned on a banjo at first, so
yeah, exactly, and you can hear in a lot of his lead playing
the banjo.
A lot. No, but there's some,
Amazing. If there was like a desk mixer,
just a full banjo. There's a bit of Leviathan that basically is a banjo solo.
He plays banjo and Crack the Sky.
Yeah.
Fucking hell, man. Prog.
Plays a lot of lap steel as well.
You guys
I love lap steel.
just need to cut it out with a wacky backy, lads.
So I mean, I suppose any album that opens with a sample of the T-Rex from Jurassic Park is going to be one of my favourite albums of all time.
You should have worn your Jurassic Park t-shirt.
I know, but the fact is, Crusher Destroyer. I mean, great track name. I mean, metal is about simple, fun shit, and they're so good at track names. They're so good at album artwork. They're so good at all this shit. And then just Crusher Destroyer is such a heavy track. Like, it's got that sort of blood and thunder, but it's not quite perfected yet. But it's heavier.
Mm-hmm. They're trying to make a big statement with a catchy moment straight out of the gate. Yeah,
they definitely do that, and the drumming is insane.
And that, I mean, yeah,
Really
we should talk
insane.
about them as a band.
He likes his, talking of marching fire ants, he likes his marching powder.
Yeah.
I mean, how the fuck could you get through a set without huge amounts of chemical enhancement?
Fucking energy drinks, man. Forget sponsorship from drum companies.
Yeah, so
It's like Icarus, but
I mean,
for drummers.
Yeah, this band, I mean, they can all play. They're all fucking great.
Oh, yeah.
But Brandaler is like a drummer possessed.
Right, the thing is, though, Brand does overplay.
I know, but
It's like it's all very well, but he does overplay.
I don't think it brings this album down, though.
I think there should have been an intervention.
No, but I think, I mean, fuck it. Let him just do it for this album, because he does, take it back on Leviathan, and they do perfect it. Leviathan is still very fast and loose, but he's definitely pared back the drumming a little bit.
But there is a reason why
I'm just so happy that it's just a man going fucking demented for 10 tracks on this.
The
It's
thing
like,
is,
how often do you hear that?
There is a reason why sludge music doesn't usually have such frantic drumming, and because it is hard to find the space and to push it through.
Oh yeah, sonically it's quite difficult to find everything on this record.
Yeah, and
because the guitars are tuned so low, the bass is just basically sub, and then the drums are just everywhere, and then all the vocals are quite distorted, and
yeah, I mean,
there's definitely no clean vocals on this album.
Obviously, they don't have any other real viable candidates for underrated, because the later stuff that isn't as well thought of is not thought of that well for a reason. And this, as you said, was an astonishing achievement on Relapse so early in their career. This is definitely the one, and people that are into Mastodon for Leviathan and Blood Mountain should be encouraged, if they don't spend a lot of time on this album, to go back and give it more attention, because it's fucking great. I don't think there's any argument that it's a good candidate to put forward, but I'm just trying to add caveats, because
I understand it's not perfect. It's not a perfect record.
Yeah, I'd agree there. I think the production on this reminds me of St. Anger a little bit.
Yeah, so that's a great thing.
Openness,
yeah, you say that like it's a bad thing.
We're taking a lot of heat online about Metallica, by the way, this week.
We have taken some heat, which I think kind of brings it down for me, but I love the sound of the guitars on it.
Yeah.
I love the sound of the guitars on this record.
It's like a swampy chunk.
Yeah, I like Melvins as well.
Fucking Melvins,
pure swampiness is great.
But this is like the Melvins, but with a drummer on cocaine.
Fucking Melvins drummers on a lot of stuff.
Well, yeah, that's true. But so
Melvin's
going through
just
March of the Fire Ants,
Melvin's did it one better, by the way. They just got a second drummer. They were like, fuck it.
No, exactly.
Can't do all those notes.
Double the coke.
Well, that's what Kyle Essa have two drummers, and they're a fucking great band as well. But so track 2, March of the Fire Ants, come in, and it's got this sort of military precision to that riff, but then it all jazzes out.
It's got that the offbeat bit that comes in. It's like, oh shit, I see what you're doing.
And it's also got the harmonizing, like the riff, and then they just move up, a third or a fifth or a seventh or whatever, and like that impending sense of doom.
See when double kick comes in at 120.
Yeah.
Oh my god. I couldn't contain myself.
Where Strides the Behemoth, first track that I heard that you heard. And I mean, it's heavy and sludgy, and you're
it's
like,
a good title as well.
Yeah, I know, totally. And it kind of matches, because there's the riff that comes in halfway through. like the only way you can kind of describe that riff is it sounds like Godzilla destroying a city. It's like that's just so heavy.
It's because it's a pure hardcore ending as well. It's a proper
totally.
beat down, like, and then it goes into a mad metalcore bit, which is fucking great.
And then somehow they keep going with Workhorse, which is another total beast. I think maybe if I was being picky, I would have put Workhorse track 3 and Where Strides the Behemoth track 4, because I think Where Strides the Behemoth, that breakdown just works better, because then going back to Workhorse, which is slightly less heavy, and then you go into Old Nessie, which as I've said, I think shows off the band can use dynamics, can just go a bit wonky and woozy and slow down, and I think you need to fucking slow down.
Oh yeah, I agree.
It goes in so many directions towards the end as well. Like it flies out in so many different ways. Old Nessie.
Yeah,
it's really jazzy.
Yeah, totally.
Really jazzy.
And then Burning Man comes in fast, fucking furious, great.
I have written, I will have more of this, please.
Yeah, fucking great track. It's like, all right, we should do a really fucking fast and heavy one again. Then Trainwreck is actually, this is one of my favourites actually. I feel like if you're going to be a classic metal band, you need to be able to write a good, long, slow song.
Yeah, the melodies and the guitar are amazing.
Yeah,
in this song,
totally
man.
great. And like what they're doing is they're nailing that sonic footprint, that or fingerprint of like those slightly overdriven guitars that then just becomes like the Mastodon sound. Trampled under hoof, great. Great Led Zeppelin reference.
Fits with the cover
but
as well.
I mean, relentless, like just fucking talk about throwing about a riff.
We've got
just
an
like
octave riff as well, which
totally.
is proper hardcore.
It's just
man.
proper like
yes,
power
please.
violence basically.
Yeah.
Trilobite, they go back to another. So like you can see that the second half of the album is going fast, slow, fast, slow. Trilobite is like another big slow crusher, sort of stretching their sound a little bit. Also got like the southern rock influence, definitely. And then Mother Puncher. Maybe like, I mean, what a fucking great name, Mother Puncher.
My favourite song on the record.
It's like, yeah, I kind of always forget about it, and then when it comes in, you're like, oh my fucking, it's maybe the most metal.
Yeah, the guitars are outrageous, man. Absolutely
like
outrageous.
Just so heavy. Yeah, this is, and then that the halftime riff at 1 minute 47. Like, dun, 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 dun. Oh my fucking lord. And then Elephant Man. Part 1. Which is like, yeah, kind of, it's basically a fade out for the album, and they have a nice big spunky solo at the end.
That fucking solo.
We
had it on here as we were setting up, and it's fucking indulgent. It's
I mean,
chocolate ice cream of solos.
Yeah, but considering, like, I don't think they really get too indulgent in those first 3 records that often.
Yeah,
a lot of bands
the
like
prog
this
thing isn't a huge factor until Crack the Sky.
Yeah. So for me, it's just such a powerful record. It's a band that you just wish you could go and see live in a sweaty basement, be thrown about.
Some folk did.
Yeah, exactly.
Mhm.
I'm very jealous of them. They just lay out the stall that they can be so good at so many different things. They can be expansive and progressive, and they can be jazzy, but they can be sludgy, and they can be doomy, and they can be tight. And do you know what? I was reading the Pitchfork review of this record actually, and a lot of it's bullshit. But then they've got a really nice bit that sums up like their more progressive bits, like their peers Mastodon, sports and mathematics. But where Meshuggah get deep into calculus and Dillinger Escape Plan prefer trigonometry, these guys enjoy the more accessible stuff. We're just talking pre-algebra here. And that kind of fits. It's like they do a little bit of math rock and a little bit of weirdness, but it's nothing too wonky, and it's not going to make you, fall out of groove. It just adds a little bit of interest in, a little bit of interest to it.
Fair comment.
So yeah,
I'm down with it.
I fucking love this record.
I agree.
I do agree.
I feel I've had ample opportunity to voice some very small concerns, but overall it's a really good
Overall,
record.
as a debut record, it's from a metal band. It's pretty unbeatable.
You can tell they're experienced. They've got a lot of experience playing in bands and writing records and stuff before. It does arrive pretty much fully formed.
By the way,
a few things, but
we need a fucking Nexus tune.
We do.
Oh yeah, that's true.
We need a fucking Nexus tune badly. Because I just threw something together, and I really want us to have another pivotal theme tune to go in there. So that's an open call right now.
Yeah. So if you have one, please, if you want to make one, and please hit us up with it, or hit us with it if you want. I don't know.
This is the first time we're seeing Nexus tonight. Will it be the last? What do they have in store for us? Not good for
Why am I here? You're in the Nexus. This is the Nexus. For you, this is what you want.
So is it my go?
It is your go. You go first.
So in 2015, Mastodon released a new track called White Walker, which appeared on a Game of Thrones. Are we going down the same route here?
Let's find out.
Catch the Throne Volume 2 mixtape. And also 3 of them, Daler, Hines and Keller, appeared as wildlings in episode 8 of season whatever that was. Season 7, I think. No, 6. I can't remember.
Yeah, it was earlier.
But Game of Thrones, obviously everybody knows about Game of Thrones. One person that appeared in Game of Thrones, have we got down the same route here?
I'm waiting to see.
Kevin Eldon.
Oh, right, no.
No, Kevin Eldon, famous British comedian. He's like always been part of like that sort of Stuart Lee circle.
Chris Morris,
etc. He's appeared in like so many great things. He's really fucking funny himself. Kevin Eldon, I think he's appeared in all of Stuart Lee's Comedy Vehicles series, in like the sort of little dramatic takeaway parts. Yeah, of like Hitler,
the angry Hitler,
dressed as a transvestite sending off a tree. So Stuart Lee, famous comedian, has courted controversy many times because he's quite an angry man sometimes. One of the times that he really received anger from the tabloid press was when he had a big go at Top Gear and how much he fucking hated Top Gear, and about how Richard the Hamster Hammond was the worst one because he was basically the little guy that stands next to the school bully and goes,
he's not a real hamster.
He's not a real hamster. And he said, like, in one of his long diatribes about Top Gear, he talked about how he wished Richard the Hammond Hamster's head had come off in that accident and rolled past his family. And so So he thinks Richard the Hammond Hamster is worse than Jeremy
I like
Clarkson.
that you're saying Richard the Hammond Hamster.
Well, yeah, fuck it. Is actually
Richard
worse.
the Hammond Hamster.
Is actually worse than Jeremy Clarkson, because Jeremy Clarkson, who is paid to have offensive views
On demand.
Yeah. Jeremy Clarkson, a man that has many, many faults,
Agreed.
but I know that deep down there's something good there, because he once punched Piers Morgan in the face.
Your enemy's enemy.
Exactly. I think it was on a flight. It might even be on Concorde.
That also sounds like a Mastodon track, by the way.
Like, yeah, your enemy's enemy. Or punching Piers Morgan in the face. Piers Morgan, somehow, remember he took over from Larry King. He had his little dalliance in America, and then they all realised he was a fucking cunt.
But again, your enemy's enemy, Piers Morgan, got into a massive row with Alex Jones live on TV about gun control. Awkward.
Just layers of fuckery.
And then fucking George
down the
Galloway
spiral.
went up in a fucking huge argument against Piers Morgan recently, and I'm like, I hate all of these people. It's just, I'm just spinning on the spot.
So on Piers Morgan Live on CNN, which replaced Larry King, he had many guests, one of which was Barbara Walters. Barbara Walters, the famous American broadcast journalist and television personality. She was like one of the sort of main news anchors in the 70s and 80s and blah blah blah. Barbara Walters at one point had a little fling with Alan Greenspan. Alan Greenspan,
saucy.
He, the American economist, Republican financial advisor.
The head of the Federal Reserve.
He was head of the Federal Reserve in the 80s with Reagan, and then came back to it, I think, and because he was certainly a big part of the Bush administration as well, I think.
Reaganomics.
Anyway, Alan Greenspan, in January 1995, he had a meeting with Bill Clinton and Robert Rubin, the Treasury Secretary.
This is very, very high level nexus.
Yeah. Well, basically, they had a meeting about the Mexican economy in Latin America and blah blah blah. And
fucking lost track. Like,
basically,
did that fucking doze off?
Have you ever heard of the Mexican peso crisis?
I mean, clearly not.
So the Mexican peso crisis was a currency crisis that Alan Greenspan was heavily involved because it was to do with Clinton's federal economic policy.
I thought you were going to say caused it.
Well, no, basically, I think they kind of did.
I feel like I forgot to record 3 episodes of a show, and now there's all kinds of stuff happening.
So one part of the Mexican peso crisis was the tequila effect.
How long were you doing this for?
Wait, did we actually mention who we're trying to get to? Maybe because we haven't mentioned who we're trying to get to. We'll have to go back and say that. But I mean, I'm going to pull this out of the hat in a little bit. The tequila effect was part of the Mexican peso crisis.
We're not trying to get to anyone. This is actually just an infinite
just go forever. The tequila effect was part of the Mexican peso crisis. It was all to do with the I don't know, comings and goings, blah blah blah. It severely affected not only the Mexican economy but all South American economies. One of which was the Ecuadorian economy.
Of course.
Is Ecuador not Central American?
No, Ecuador is South American.
Is it?
But Mexico's central. But I'm talking about the whole of Latin America. But Ecuador is on the equator.
I know. That's why it's called Ecuador.
What's going on, guys? What the fuck is going on?
But Ecuador's South American, but it's on the equator.
Yeah, because the equator goes through Brazil. The equator is south of the Panama Canal.
Brilliant. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Thanks.
There you are.
A lot of people will be saying similar things in this nexus.
I'm having a brain hemorrhage right now.
Anyway, one man that suffered from the tequila effect and actually
I've suffered from the tequila effect.
Suffered actual impeachment was Ecuadorian President Abdallah Bakaram. He was president of Ecuador from August the 10th, 1996 to February 6th, 1997.
I'm going to cede my time to David.
In October 1996, Lorena Bobbitt made a visit to her native Ecuador, where she met with then President Abdullah Bakaram for an official dinner. Sometime later, the two would baptise a child as godmother and godfather. Bakaram was criticised for inviting Lorena to the dinner.
That is wonderful. I'm seriously impressed how well you reined that in.
I think that's the next Mastodon concept album.
Yeah. The Mexican peaceful crisis, guys.
So
read all about it.
So we're trying to get to Lorena Bobbitt, as suggested by Jenny Hogan.
Yeah.
But that's obvious now.
Can you explain who she was and why she's so famous?
She cut off her husband. What's his name? John Wayne Bobbitt, who was a serial domestic abuser.
You didn't specify what she cut off. You just said she cut off
his penis.
His penis. After he draped her.
Yeah.
So he's since been convicted of multiple accounts of domestic abuse or domestic violence as well. Had a bit of a history of it, but she cut his willy off and threw it out a car, and then some cops or ambulance people found it and put it in ice in a kind of soft drink that they got out of a local fast food joint, and then it was sewn back on to almost working order, and later augmented when he made the transition into porn. Including Frankenpenis, I believe.
Frankenpenis, and also just John Wayne Bobbitt uncut.
Yeah, there you go.
An ironic title.
But yeah, let's, whilst people feel sorry for him, let's remind them that yes, it was an act of violence. I don't condone that, but he was a rapist.
He was a bad man.
Yeah. So those
are just two facts. We're not saying one justifies the other. Mark?
Yeah. So John and Lorena Bobbitt.
You got to start the other way around, Mark. Come on.
Okay.
Although that would have helped me remember.
It's like trying to turn the car around when you don't know where you're going. Okay, so
hang on, I might guess Mark's. Mastodon are on Wikipedia. John and Lorena Bobbitt also have a page on Wikipedia.
Okay, let's go.
Fuck, you got it. So there's a guitar player in Mastodon called Brent Hines.
Yes.
And Brent Hines was also a guitar player in a band called Giraffe Tongue Orchestra, which featured one Mr. Benjamin Weinman, who's in Dungeon Escape Plan.
Okay.
Benjamin Weinman did a Guitar World Covermount EP with Tosin Abisi and Misha Mansour. Misha Mansour is the guitarist and producer for Periphery, and Tosin Abisi is the guitar player and kind of band leader of Animals as Leaders. He also
two crap bands there.
We also mentioned him because he played in a recent album that we covered.
Yeah. Can't remember which one.
It's 6 episodes ago or something like that.
Can't remember.
It was a girl. I think it was Kalela, maybe.
Oh yeah, maybe. No,
seems unlikely.
Carry on.
Anyway.
Santa Gold?
Possibly.
Anyway, sorry, carry on.
Anyway, he also played guitar in Born of Osiris. And Born of Osiris used to have a member called Jason Richardson, who's now the guitar player in All That Remains. And Jason Richardson was born in the city of Manassas, Virginia, which is the same place where John and Lorena Bobbitt lived.
Oh, I'll give you that.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a small enough town that's a link. Yep.
Yeah, it's quite a small town.
Alright, I had a dull one and then I got a slightly better one. But yeah, David and I have gone down the exact same road of the Mexican peso crisis.
Oh, fuck. What are the chances?
So Hines and Kelleher were White Walkers in Game of Thrones season 7. They were also in an earlier one as Wildlings, I think you're right. The actor Jared Harris, who plays Valery Legasov in the recent Chernobyl series, which by the way is unbelievably good. Jared Harris originally auditioned for the role of High Sparrow in Game of Thrones, which was later taken by Jonathan Pryce, and he also auditioned for the role of Dr. Robert Ford in Westworld, which went to Anthony Hopkins. Anthony Hopkins plays a character called Coleman Silk in the adaptation of The Human Stain by Philip Roth, alongside Nicole Kidman. And Philip Roth's book Sabbath's Theatre discusses Lorena Bobbitt.
Nice.
Oh, really?
1995. That wasn't a good one though. The good one was that Brett Hines and Norman Reedus from The Walking Dead got matching Lemmy tattoos. apparently they're bros. I didn't know that. And Norman Reedus plays Daryl Dixon, the character of Merle Dixon. Daryl Dixon's brother is played by Michael Rooker, who's a bit of a character. Seems like a really good guy. Michael Rooker in 2017 was offered a title shot by CM Punk in the WWE after they did some kind of like press thing at a Comic-Con. And as regards to WWE, John Wayne Bobbitt appeared on Monday Night Raw next to Val Venus as part of like a special episode in 1998.
Almost went down the Monday Night Raw route, but I did it last week.
And
So.
John
Yeah,
Wayne Bobbitt.
I also nearly went down that route, but I don't know wrestling well enough, so I left it to you.
And John Wayne Bobbitt got his wee raping willy chopped off by Lorena Bobbitt.
Yeah.
There you go.
Great.
Good job, everyone.
Thanks,
Including
Ken.
Go listen
Lorena.
to Mastodon.
So next week is my shout, and I figured, fuck it, we just did Public Enemy, who have about 400 albums. We did Mastodon, who have 7 albums and a lot to talk about, so we might as well do a band with a very, very small back catalogue. So I have picked Sonic Youth.
Great. That's fantastic. Thanks very much.
So we're going to do Sonic Youth, but I thought, fucking everybody talks about Sonic Youth, we have to cover them at some point. I've decided to do the album Rather Ripped, which is a later era Sonic Youth album. It's probably going to be a contentious one in terms of everybody's got an opinion on Sonic Youth, and yeah, albums like Dirty will be in there, but yeah, I'm going for that. And I'm going to draw the Nexus companion.
Draw the Nexus, Chris.
Okay. So from Sonic Youth to... It's the sound of the box.
Please tell me, did you put the... you didn't put it back in.
I put
last
Lorena
week, did you?
Bobbitt out this
Okay,
time.
good.
I threw her out my car window as it was moving like a severed willy.
Only way
the
to do it.
Nexus for next week to go to Sonic Youth is... Oh, it's my one. We all put one in at the start.
Uh-huh.
Idi Amin.
Sonic Youth to Idi Amin. Okay. I can...
I'm quite
feel
sure
like
for
I can
that.
get there.
That's
That's fine.
I wasn't sure when that was going to happen. All right, cool.
All right, thanks, guys.
Good
Cheers.
fun.
Can you put in the sample from Jurassic Park right now?
Yes, I can do that, and then we should go and start inflating your kayak.
Let's go and find Nessie.